Now you can hear
Excellent.
it.
Oh, I love that. We're live. We are live now.
I was so sure as well. I just looked at it like, it's all working, yeah, we're live. No, we're not.
Silence. So, Neurodiversity Celebration Week.
It's a quiet start to this one. We're
We're going to
aware.
warm up as we go along.
We're aware that some people with sensory differences in the audience today. So we'll be coming at you from a softer. I don't know.
I'm going to say I can't. I'm aware of people having sensory differences, but yeah, I can be the loudest person, that's not taking any of that into account.
I was about to say, unfortunately, the video format, my computer is just like, nope, for some reason. Um, but you shared a video with me at the start that I thought would be great to play for you. Unfortunately, I'm just going to have to describe it. But it does fit in with what you were just saying, being you can be the loudest one. We'll have to put that, I'm sure you're going to post it somewhere. But I've
Yeah.
got some I want to show you, and then the camera flips down to her shoes. And it's a bit of a, what are those moment?
They're clogs.
Clogs with bells on.
They're clogs with a newfound passion, which is Morris dancing.
I feel like I want a pair just to make a statement.
I know, they're insane, aren't they? I've just been lent those because we are dancing out in public on Sunday. And we're not even the kind of group that paints our faces, so it's like we've just got to go for it.
How do you feel about doing that? That's like a real traditional British uh tradition. No other way around it.
Um, quite proud about it because more so because my grandma, God bless her soul, she's no longer with us, and my granddad, who is like my granddad loves it, my grandma would have loved it, and I don't know. I just feel like I'm part of something that's steeped in tradition.
The whole like choreographed dance is something that I wouldn't put you as someone that's like, yeah, more
Hey,
of
Lou.
this.
I I certainly did not. Well, I said last night because I go every Tuesday, and I said last night to the ladies, I went, "Can you believe that we now know 3 full dances?" So it's quite a pride thing, the fact that we started with no clue, and now I can dance my way through 3 dances. And like if I'm the type that if I've seen, "Hey, Kat, welcome,"
Hey, cat.
if I see Morris dancers, you know, when you're out and about at fetes and they're in the street and at events, surely everybody's grown up seeing Morris dancers like everywhere and pub car parks, the lot. I would always want to join in. Like it'd get me really excitable, like the music, the bells,
Yeah.
people jumping around, smashing the sticks together, all of that. So the fact that I am now a Morris dancer, I just think this is amazing.
It is amazing. And I actually agree. Like, I always watch dances and I'm like, I wish I could do that. If someone's doing it in the street or on like Strictly Come Dancing or something, like big YouTube vlogger Joe Sugg, he's married to Diane Buswell. Oh, not married to, is with Diane Buswell, who is a Strictly Come Dancing dancer.
Hey, if Strictly want to kind of get me on there, now that I'm a dancer and
Well,
I'm
to the rest of us who won't be in Loughborough on Sunday to watch you, I will be there with a camera. So so you all get to watch.
there's 4 of us that are new to it and the rest are all experienced. And
Can we spot them out?
well, yeah, you'll have to work out who are the newbies. And I know that they're feeling quite nervous, whereas I'm just so unaware of these things. Like I just don't seem to suffer with there's certain things where I don't get nervous. So it's like I'm just totally excited about it. And I said to them, if you feel like you're messing up or you feel like you're getting too embarrassed, just give me the nod and I'll do something to take the attention off of you because it doesn't bother me. I'll like fall over or get my dress stuck over my head or whatever we need to do to make them feel better.
I was about to ask you for examples, like what kind of distractions are we going for? But okay, cool. They seem quite, yeah.
Yeah, quite often I wear my pants that I wear aren't tight enough, and when I'm skipping around, I skip my pants down, so I'm like I can't do that on the day.
If there's any reason to be there on Sunday, it's that.
Well,
New moon.
we will be in Queen's Park for those of you that know.
When is the full moon?
On Monday, I think actually, isn't it?
So Sunday and Monday this
I'm
month.
pretty sure that,
Okay,
so
Loughborough Queen's Park, there's a full moon on Sunday, and then the normal full moon will be.
Kat and Lou are laughing about the shoes. We've tried to get the video live, but the camera's not accepting it. So I'm thinking I'm gonna put it on my story. So you'll have to keep an eye out on my Instagram, and I'll share it on there for you.
Let me see if I can get it on. Carry on talking. And I'll
No,
see
it's
if
all
I
right.
can
I'm
work
just
it
I'm
out.
just thinking how amusing that there's demand there to see my clogs with bells on.
It's so funny.
I think what I was going to say is, I don't think I even got around to saying it, that they've been lent to me. They're not actually mine, which I just think, how kind is that? Like, they're such a welcoming, friendly, nice group of people. Um, so the lady that they belong to, the ladies that can't dance out on Sunday, all brought their clogs in so that those that are dancing out could borrow the kit that they needed and make sure they look the part.
It's really sweet. Actually reminds me of I started dance when I was younger. I did ballet and tap. And that first few lessons where you don't have your stuff and you're relying on
Yeah.
like someone else's mum being like, "Oh, she's got these shoes that she's run out of. Look, they were kind of a bit,
Yeah.
run down now. If you'd like to use them before we chuck them away," and you're like, "Yes,
Yeah,
please."
because you because that's the thing. They'd originally said, as long as you've got black trainers, you'll be fine. And I was thinking, I already look quite strange in the dress and my tattoos. They look they don't like blend well, if you see what I mean. They look very odd. So I was thinking, I'm going to be there with tattoos in this dress, already feeling a bit like I don't look the part, and trainers. So now I am really pleased that I've got the clogs and the bells.
Oh.
So, and apparently there's one dance that we do called the Nook, and
Look,
well, I think it's named after the roundabout in Anstey because each time you go through um the dance, you face a different direction. So
okay.
you start off facing this way and you dance about, and then when you've done it, you're facing the next way, and then the next way, and the next way. So I think it is like the roundabout in the Nook in Anstey because where whoever thinks up the dance, wherever they're from, that's what it's named after. So my favourite Black Rod is where Charlotte's grandma was born. I mean, how strange is that, the connection?
That's wicked. I love that.
Yeah, but the Nook, we have to hold these like circular, they're like half a hoop. So we've been practicing with half a hoops, but they were like, you wait till you see the ones on the day. They're gorgeous. Like they've got real like big rosettes and like they're
Oh, very
decorated.
cool.
Yeah,
Not
so
just like the simple
yeah, like the
one read.
practice one. So I was like, so I can't skip with because I like you can't help but skip with it, you know. So the minute you got it in your hand, it's
You can't.
you know what's the amount of what I would suspect ADHD ladies that are there.
Yeah, what other kind of person wants to spend their free time jumping about with other strangers
Yeah.
with bells on your feet?
But even, you know, there was one lady, she dances for our side, but also another one. And she was like, oh, well, I just felt like I'd learned all the dances and it wasn't challenging me anymore. And I was just looking for that extra challenge. And they're all so busy, you know, like they want to be kept busy all the time. They're doing things. And then this other lady said, oh, I finished my watercolor, you know, and you realizing that they've got and then another lady, she was talking about how she's in a choir as well. So it's these creative energies, you know, they're dancing, they're singing, they're painting, they're crafting, they're here, there, and they're everywhere. And one of the ladies was even saying like her husband thought she was joking when she went home and said that she was gonna like went to the open day, enjoyed it, and was gonna go back. He was
Oh,
waiting for the punchline, and she's like, "No, seriously."
no, I'm going, and so are you. He's like, I love that though, and yeah, going back to the lending kit. I don't know if there's any fellow ADHDers listening. Probably went through a fair few hobbies, and you're still doing that. And if you're anything like my mum, you got to the point where you're like, I can't keep buying you this kit for you to be not into it in a few weeks.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
had a karate gi, I had ballet shoes,
yeah.
tap shoes, leotards, keyboards, guitar, all these different things that
They call it the hobby graveyard.
and that's carried on. My mum's just not responsible for the acquiring me of these things anymore.
Like I did read somewhere that they ought to do as an ADHD app where we can all put on there all the kit we've got so that everyone can try all these things out without having to rebuy it all.
I love that,
So
like ADHD vinted.
yeah. Pat's saying that Kyle is now in a choir as well.
Brilliant. I
Yeah.
love that.
I would quite like, that's definitely something else on the, you know,
I want to join a choir too.
we've got the book, so we've still got a few more months to try out some new things. So we'll just have to, I think we both would love to take the YouTube channel more on the road and try, you know, try this out and try that out and kind of
Yeah,
film those
definitely.
experiences. So if anybody is in touch with the choir and knows one that would be happy to be filmed and have us, then we would come and
And
definitely try it.
anything like that. If you have a community that you'd like the world to see, because it's like in, I don't know, a hobby that you partake in or a group that you go and visit, invite us.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
come and
definitely
shoot
come
some
along.
video with you, and we can show people why they should come and join your community. And I think it's really fun. I'm
Yeah,
excited to, whether it's yoga or you've got a trampoline park or
flower arranger.
yeah, or I don't know, airsoft shooting.
Yeah,
Sounds scary, but let's do it.
came live and we both work and you know we're both so busy, it's hard to commit to these things week in week out, but I love trying things out, so
Yeah.
it's like it'd be the perfect solution.
Managed to get this working.
Oh, okay, well, we're gonna play this video, then we're gonna play the intro, and then we'll introduce the topic properly. But just before you play that, so Kat's just listed, I think, the things that is that Kyle, or is that her list of things? Brass band, oh, dancing, knitting, electric guitar, watercolors.
As a kid, my last.
Oh, it's
very
Kat.
funny.
She was young. Yeah, I was exactly the same. Always into things.
That's band. That is not a cheap one to be like, hey, mum, can you get me a.
I know my mum taught me to knit because I'm left-handed. She had to teach me in the mirror because she's right-handed, and she said to my nana, who is left-handed, I don't know how to teach her. Then like, can you show her? And she said, set up a mirror and get her to watch you in the mirror. You can see the opposite.
Genius.
There you go. That's the tip of the podcast.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
Cute.
neurodivergent hack.
Yeah.
Oh, left-handed hack, which we know is
I know
has
it's
a fair amount of
yeah.
intersectionality. Yeah, I'll be playing this on um Adobe
Well, solution finders.
with solution finders.
We're
But you have to hear, I know that's on mute as well, the state of this.
I've got something to show you. Are you ready? How bloody awesome are they?
Why is it like this? The haters should be loved, we invited. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous. Why is it like this? Instead of haters should be loved, we invited. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous.
How good is that? Laughs in the chat. Look, how funny are they? We all need them, girls. I'm just saying, the next time we need to film something where we've all got them on, just like
Do you know what the great
trying to
thing
do
is?
stuff quietly.
The bells, you can buy them separately and just put them onto your laces or through the straps of shoes. So the bell part, you don't have to even get the full shoes. Like there's like a separate attachment. So we
Should do something, you know, where they play like blind footballs played with like a bell in the
Oh
ball,
my
isn't there?
God,
Maybe
yeah.
we could do something where you've got to try and, I don't know, complete tasks without people knowing where you are.
Yeah. Bluff? No. Blind bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blind man's blind.
I said buff. That's
There he
not
is.
right.
We love a buff blind man. That kind of guy.
Well, God, that's completely thrown me off. I was like, what was I thinking about? Oh, my mum was like, when she was walking around her, she went, I feel like a reindeer. Do you?
That's a really good kind of. You know what? That actually makes way more sense than trying to do stuff, trying to do pranks. Like I
That would be
understand
quite.
why our
I
brain
mean,
went there.
I think that it's a good dare that dares you to walk down the street with your bells on your shoes, like,
You know,
ding, ding, just walking down.
I wanna like. If you ever see them videos of like those alpha bros that walk down the street and they're like, they show someone filming from behind, they can see. It's to show how many people look at them when they walk through a place. But you can never see their face, and in my opinion, when they're filming it, they're like
Yeah,
people, and
yeah.
it's making people look. Or he's like, just like, doing weird stuff. It's making people like look towards them. But
I've read something really interesting about people looking. Because do you find that? Do people like, do you feel like people stare at you more often than not, if you see what I mean?
not
Has
really.
it been something? Because when working with young people, especially I work with a lot of young people that suffer with anxiety. And that's one of the things that some of them, it's like a common thread in amongst these neurodivergent kids where they're like, people stare at me. And I'm like, I've always had that, like, where I can walk along and people are literally staring, like to the point where when I was younger, I wrote this story about it where it turned out that I was actually part of this secret society. And when I got to a certain age, I found out. And that was why these people were staring, because they knew that I was part of this society type thing. Like they were sensing it. So when these young people were then coming, I was like, oh my God, yeah, I've had the same. But I just kind of put it down to like one of the girls was quite tall and she had like blonde hair. And I was like, you know, people are just looking because you're tall and you're blonde and, you know, like just different reasons. But then I've read this thing recently that was like, if you're vibrating on a higher frequency, so your energy is, you know, more attractive, as it were, people will stare at you. And it just rang true where I thought, you know, to the point sometimes I'm driving along and people are walking down the street and they stop and they look straight in my car, straight at me. It's like quite creepy, you know, how often it happens. And it has always felt like they can, like their brains are like, there she is, you know, like there's that alien, and they're like, like looking for it, type thing. But then when I thought, I do think it is an energy frequency thing. They don't realize that they're picking up on something because it's not something we're taught to think about.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, there is definitely the energy thing, but then there's also the hyper awareness of people looking. I think we kind of no, don't worry. I think
I just took a massive swig of my drink and it went complete.
it's the ginger. It's not alcohol.
There is ginger. But yeah, sorry, the hyper awareness. I think that has definitely got an element to it as well.
Because people look at all things every day. They've got eyes. So being hyper aware of like, oh, that person's looking at me and that person's looking at me. You can't necessarily say that they wouldn't have looked at you with someone else pulling up to them next time in that car.
Yeah.
Or...
It is really hard to kind of gauge it because there's everybody experiencing this. But there's even been times where it's like, I'm walking along and it is like everyone poof, 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 and it's like, oh my God, why is everybody, it's a good job I'm not shy. Like when I was in my 20s, for example, I'd be like, looking at me. It didn't bother me. But
that's pretty, I'm assuming that would be a lot to do with it. You're an attractive woman.
It might be. I was just we're just living a perverted society, unfortunately. But I'm just feeling that ADHD society, you know, maybe I do believe in the whole kind of that you sense the energy off of each other when with the neurodivergence. Like I wanted to do a post this week and say, if you're friends with me, chances are you are ADHD and autistic.
Well, just friends like you actually enjoy being with.
Yeah.
Like if you feel like, God, that girl or that guy is someone I can really like chill with. Yeah. Then it's probably going to be the case because we attract each other.
Yeah. And we don't know yet. That's the thing that gets me, is that you can meet somebody and you don't know yet that they're going to be ADHD or autistic or whatever. And yet that sense is there.
Yeah. So isn't there like 9 bits of information or something that you form about someone before they've even opened their mouth?
Yeah, but I think that is more to do with a physical judgment thing. But that's not necessarily.
The neurodivergent brain doesn't block stuff out as like, oh, don't mess with that. You know, oh, he doesn't give eye contact, don't talk to him. We don't think that. We're like, oh, he's kind of looking about and not like, I think I could talk to that guy because I don't really want to look at anyone's face either. In their eyes, like.
So for those that don't know, I'm just going to kind of say that neurodiversity as a term has been coined now as an umbrella term for all of the labels that we use, like ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, Tourette's. But it is really important to remember that neurodiversity does encapture the diversity of the brain, which so all of us technically are neurodiverse, as it were, but neurodiversity, we're actually neurodivergent if you wanted to be really specific about those labels. But neurodiversity has been kind of acquired as the umbrella term of meaning this.
Basically there's a diverse neurotype,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and that everybody's brain is unique and different, but neurotypical is the kind of mainstream, the expected, the regular. Like there are a whole cluster of brains that work in a particular way that we would expect them to work, and that forms the mainstream and forms the neurotypical.
One thing I was trying to work out, maybe, I mean, this was created by Dr. Nancy Doyle. I have no idea really about that person's work. Um, in between, are these supposed to be like Venn diagrams? Because what's these
Potentially
terms?
not, because
Honesty, verbal skills. Is it?
just because sensory awareness would class as ADHD and autism.
There's a lot of them.
Where is
Like there's
autism on there?
or autism spectrum
Oh, okay.
condition.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have put sensory awareness with the autism bit, which makes sense, but that's definitely a crossover with ADHD. So I don't think it's quite a Venn diagram. It's just all of them, isn't it?
Dyscalculia and dyslexia together means creativity, but then we're over here with ADHD, which
Yeah, I think all of the terms can be. I
probably
think
not the most
it's beautiful though, and it is lovely to
emphasized.
bring all of that in, because the thing that I found working with it is that if you are dyslexic, chances are you're ADHD. If you're ADHD, chances are you're autistic. But it's just such a fine line between the kind of presentations, and the crossovers are all there. So I think that's why I like the umbrella term of being neurodivergent, because
Yeah.
it kind of captures that you've got a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of the other. You're not neurotypical, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. I think for a lot of people that go about their life thinking they are neurotypical and then you speak to them about reading, like last episode, like, have you
Yeah.
ever read the front page of something and just be like, oh God, I've not taken any of that in. The amount of people that will be like, oh God, I used to do that all the time at school. And I'd start school thinking, right, pay attention, and just didn't. And I'm like, huh, sounds like
Yeah.
you might not be as neurotypical as you think.
And I think, yeah, the other thing is, one of the things that I've raised before, time and time again, is how can you possibly know that you're different if you're not prepared to speak about it, or if we don't speak about it? So a lot of people
Exactly.
kind of get a bit fronty, don't they, about like, or shirty about, ooh, we don't need any more awareness. And it's like, well, actually, we do,
Yeah.
because the more aware that you are, the less you'll blame yourself, or the more compassionate you can be, type thing. Because I shared something today that when I was younger, I got called OTT, a weirdo, all sorts of labels.
Yeah.
They were still labels. And then when I realized that I'm actually ADHD and autistic and, dyspraxic, then I was like, okay, it gave me a depth of knowledge that then allowed me to be more compassionate towards myself, because I wasn't just a failure.
Yeah, you'd grown up so long with adults telling you from different directions, you've done this wrong again, this is wrong
Yeah.
again. You're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I get things wrong all the time. And then someone's like, actually, it's
It's
because of
'cause of
this. You're like,
this.
oh, I'm not a bad person.
Yeah.
I'm not just completely
Well,
useless.
it's very like, I was gifted and talented in the academic area, but then when it came to relationships and friendships, quite clumsy. So it just didn't add up that I'd have these huge successes in one area of my life and then huge failures in the other. And that, for me, reading more about the other things within ADHD, like rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria, that was a huge eye opener. And for me, that journey of learning all of those things is what then created a far healthier, happier me, because I was like, oh, I understand now.
Yeah. I think another one is the PDA profile of autism. People are starting to realize, like, the amount of people they grew up with, that they could never get them to do what they wanted to do. It was always like you had to go to their house and do what they wanted,
Yeah.
or it was nothing. It was
So
like,
PDA means pathological demand avoidance, for those that haven't come across that before.
yeah, so a simple request from a parent, like, come on then, up you get, we've got to go to school. That is like,
Meltdown inducing.
yeah, you've just told me what I need to do, and my brain doesn't react well to that. It reacts in a way that it's been triggered.
Yeah. Fight or flight.
I'm threatened by that literal.
Yeah. And I think it is a good one to raise, actually, because especially with the youngsters, when I work with parents and the youngsters and they've got that kind of profile of PDA, the parents cannot even understand where to begin with that. Like, how do you remove demands from a life? But actually, it's all about the language that you use. And the more that you practice it, it just becomes second nature, where you just work out how to not put those demands, to make it sound so demanding. It sounds very daft, but to be honest,
we'd all benefit.
It's good to be aware of it, because I had a couple of friends and a couple of experiences right up until recently with people where even like just suggesting, oh, listen to this song, because I love music, and me saying listen to this song, that was a demand, and their reaction was so kind of, you know, brutal. There's no need for that reaction in my mind. It's quite hurtful, but what their reaction was coming from the PDA type presentation. So
yeah, I think a lot of people get annoyed because it's like, oh, there's no naughty kids anymore, and it's like, why are you so hell-bent on people being good or bad?
Yeah,
you know full well that there's people in your life, there's good people that can do bad things and bad people that can do good things. This idea of like, yeah, I feel like we want to label it. I watched I can't find the link to it now, but it's a lady on Instagram that shares a lot of her the journey that she has with her kids. They both have autism, and they have regular experiences of people with autism, kids with autism. They'll have meltdowns in shops. They'll have, and this mum will do whatever she can in the moment to help the kid with her. You know, she's learned how to help her kid the best way, but she also films what she does to show how to help other parents what they could do. But she also shows the interference that other parents will give to the situation that's happening at the moment. So the most recent one, she was at a Sainsbury's in like a cafe, and one of the kids was running around doing something, and an elderly person turned around and was just like, sort your kids out, basically.
Yeah.
And she turned around and was like, don't talk to my kids like that, don't do that. And she was explaining, you know, the hidden disabilities, blah blah blah. And it was like, well, he should have his lanyard on. And he's like, he has autism. I cannot make him wear a lanyard.
Yeah.
That's not the battle I'm gonna have with him today.
No.
And it all comes down to this, like, you don't want to have to deal with it. It upsets you.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're not in your family. You don't have to come home with us for tea tonight. What on earth does this have to do with
And you know what it is? Because I had it recently, didn't I, where the kids laughing at school really annoyed me. And I was like, when did I become the adult that gets annoyed by the laughter and not the kid doing the laughing? Is that if you were told off for it as a kid, so if that person was told off for running around and told to sit down and shut up and be seen and not heard and all of that stuff, they then apply that to the rest of their experience. So it is a kind of a whole societal thing that we have got to adapt and evolve and change the way that, you know, let kids be kids, let them run around. So what, that they're running around, you know?
Exactly. I feel like, well, that's something we did in tribes where kids were left to socialize between themselves and to get on with that stuff. There's a lot of like, a kid will go to a teacher and say, this has happened. The teacher will get involved and be like, right, you do that, da, da, da. Instead, it'd be way better to give the kids their tools. So another video I watched recently, it's a guy that goes in and audits nurseries, daycare centers in America. And he's like, you need things to be doing when you're transitioning, because kids don't go from one thing to another without there being a real set, like, you'll lose them. There's all these different things.
Yeah.
And one, while he's like observing, a kid's like messing around, and rather than letting the teacher get involved, he says, hey, come here to the boy that's getting the most upset. And he says, what's the problem? And he's like, I don't like it when he does that. And he says, have you told him you don't like that when he does that? No. And he's like, okay, well, you wipe your tears, you go over there, you tell him I don't like that. Rather than this, like, okay, I'll come and do it
I'll
for
get an
you.
adult to tell him that I don't.
Yeah, because eventually you become an adult that
That
suddenly there's
doesn't
not an adult you can run to.
Well, just going back to the misbehavior thing as well, I am a firm believer through experience that kids that are misbehaving, there's always a reason for it. Like, I've had a load of new kids recently come into classroom, and when they first came in, all these different ones, they were very boisterous, swearing a lot. You just kind of thought, oh God, you know, like, here we go again. Like, it's such hard work trying to break down this kind of defensiveness and all the rest of it. But actually, I shouldn't have even questioned my ability, because within like a few lessons or whatever, they're absolutely lovely. They are the most adorable things. And don't get me wrong, they can still be really hard work and they still have their moments. But it just shows me, if I went to any of their past teachers and said, oh my God, how adorable is so-and-so, I reckon they'd be like, what? There's many words I'd use, but it wouldn't be adorable. And it's like, yeah, because you've not listened to them. You've not gave them space to express themselves. You've condescended them the minute they've had any ideas. You've put those ideas down instead of being like, oh, really? You think that? Yeah. I don't ever say that it's wrong, but I'll then I'll accept what they've said, and then I'll give them another perspective, which is a different way of going, well, that's a bit stupid, isn't it? Because you don't know this, and and
if you've got PDA, you're just putting more demands. You're stupid. You don't get this. You don't know it. Get it right. And it's like, well, no.
And even like some of them, they're sitting in my English class and they don't want to, well, in fact, two of them, right, don't want to do anything in the English class. F this, I don't do English, I don't blah, 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 blah. But today in employability, there was like a couple of about 5 kids, which is quite a lot to have in those behavior classrooms. That's quite a Larry classroom. It's only a small room anyway. Those 2 particular ones that don't get involved in English, I'd set them a task of them finding out about businesses in the area. They were working together. They'd got an A3 sheet and they were filling it with information, researching and filling it. And it, oh my God, it made my heart like,
I love that,
burst with pride. I was like, oh, like look at them. But purely,
you look like you could cry right now.
but it's just the fact that they've been failed and they have got the ability and they've been made to feel like that they can't do those things. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've managed to tap into them somehow. It's probably because they do respect me in the classroom as well. But why do they respect me? Because of the way I've treated them
on a level.
Yeah.
Was it you that showed me the video about the throwing a ball up and catching it? So it was a great
example
analogy, yeah. And it was like, if I was to ask you in here, if I was to ask you to throw up a ball and clap, how many times do you think you could clap in this room before you catch it again?
Twice, maybe 3 times.
2 or 3 times. If I got rid of the ceiling and took you outside, would you still only be able to think to do 2 or 3?
No, I'd be able to do more.
Exactly. And you've just proven by giving these kids a different environment.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with their skill.
Yeah, it's the environment.
Yeah, it's the ceilings placed on these kids.
Well, even I had a bit of a kind of a clash with another professional because I tried to say, I was like, if you change the expectations though, you change what you get out of the kids. And they were like, oh, right. So everything that a parent wants, then you're going to remove that from the classroom, like the rules of the classroom. And I went, I don't think parents do want these rules, but their parents want to see their kid thrive. The parents want to see their kid find what makes them tick and do that thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then I said something about, I said, they need to change. And he said, well, who's they? And I was like, the government. Like, you know, why are you getting, if professionals like are going to have such a narrow mind?
It makes me so mad.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what's so hard to understand. It's like remove the expectation of sit down, shut up, stare at the front of the classroom for an hour, which bores me. Why would it not bore a 14-year-old teenage boy that wants to be running around outside? You know, it's just like, it seems so simple what we could do to get better results, and yet we're just, for some reason, stuck in the same rut and not doing it.
That makes me so mad that there's literally educators that are like, who?
There's educators in our area that don't believe in dyslexia, for example. Like there's educational psychologists working for the council that don't believe that dyslexia exists.
Hey, you don't deserve that job.
But it's like, wow, that's scary because they're the ones that are in charge of saying whether a kid needs extra help. Do you see what I mean? And it's just so corrupt. Like,
yeah, maybe the gatekeeper shouldn't be so like anti-help.
Yeah, and it is very easy, isn't it? Say, oh, there's for everything and blah blah blah. But it's like all dyslexia, because dyslexia is an interesting one for me actually. Because a lot of my kids will go, I'll say something about reading or writing or whatever it is, and they'll go, oh, I can't, I'm dyslexic.
So for anybody listening that doesn't know dyslexia, what does that mean?
Mainly the way it presents is you're going to have difficulties remembering spellings, being able to read quite fluently. This doesn't mean you're not going to be able to do it forever, though. It's more the inability to learn the way that we're teaching it in the classrooms right now. And that's what I'm getting at, is that, I mean, there is problems with memory, with organisation, with the letters staying in the order that you're looking at them in. But it presents as with problems around English lessons. And they, in their head straight away, they're like, oh, I can't do that though because I'm dyslexic. And that's what I want to change, where I'm like, you might find it harder, or you might find it that you've got to go a different way about it, but you can still do it. And then the other thing is with the dyslexic brain is it has many other strengths. So like being aware of spatial awareness, being able to model in your mind the room and how much space you need for that and this, that, and the other. It's a skill that a dyslexic brain tends to have that a neurotypical brain doesn't.
Yeah,
So
so that's like visual mind, like memory,
engineers, those kind of skills. So it's very much like, why are we making every kid feel like that they're thick if they can't do the same as everybody else? Again, going back to one of those new students, he sat in the corner of my classroom the other day taking apart, it was a vape actually, but he was taking it apart and fixing it, and he had it all in pieces, cleaning it all out, putting it all back together. And it's like, I love watching them do stuff like that. I find it really, how do they even know what goes where and all the rest of it? But anyway, there was another kid then talking about dyslexia. I hate reading, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, this guy over here knows how to take an engine apart and put it back together. I don't. I knew how to write a book. He don't. I said, we both don't need to know each other's thing, but together we're stronger. Together we can do stuff. Like,
together we could write a book about putting together an engine.
It was just that it was like that light bulb moment for all of them, that it's not you that's the problem. It's the system that says you've got to be able to pass this English exam and this maths exam, even though they're two very different skills. You've got to be good at them both. Find me a maths teacher that loves English, or vice versa. They don't, because they're different skills. Even like my granddad, bless him, he's definitely autistic. He's definitely dyslexic and ADHD.
I love your granddad.
And he's absolutely wicked. Now, if he'd have been a teenager these days, he would not be able to apply for a job, because he wouldn't be able to fill in the application form, and then he wouldn't be able to get through an interview because of his anxiety and his lack of kind of. I mean, his social skills now great, but back then, in his day, he went into Severn Trent, and they gave him a job because they needed people, and they trained him up, and he worked consistently for like 50, 60 years till he retired without one day off, completely loyal, thorough, did a great job on good money. He survived. Now, if he was in the teenage years now, he wouldn't even been able to have got his job.
Exactly.
And it's just like, we've lost our way in terms of these neurodivergent kids being able to get anywhere in life unless they've got like other elements backing them. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, there was a video that from some, like, I think it was Coventry Council, where they're discussing like the amount of money that's being spent on ADHD within their councils or whatever, and it's a bottomless pit apparently. Why has all these kids got ADHD now? And it was just a bunch of non-qualified counselors like in a room debating this. Every time someone that actually knew what they were talking about would say, well, this is the reason that there's a rise, or this is a thing, or whatever, that you wouldn't take anything they'd said on board and just carried on moaning it was like hearing people at the pub talking about stuff they just don't know about, and nothing makes me more angry. I feel like it must be a common trait between everyone within the neurodivergent community at the minute, that's got the self-awareness to know that the world is scary anyway, and now it's getting even worse for us. What are we supposed to do? And before you could even help all of us, there's way more stuff going on, like wars and tax, and I can't afford my heating bill. Thank you so much for getting rid of my taking my what was it, national insurance down for me. Thank you so much. I was wondering how I'd ever pay that.
On top of all my other concerns that keep me awake at night. I mean, I read recently a comment about someone said, oh, is neurodiversity and neurodivergency, ADHD, autism, are they the reasons for progression in society? Because there's a lot of research that suggests that ADHD was actually an advancement, and that if that person hadn't thought about that new way to do that thing, then we'd never have advanced. So I was reading the comments, because I do believe that. I do believe that people that have advanced society and the human race over the years have all been neurodivergent. That's why they've advanced.
They've been able to think outside of the box.
I'm not saying that every single neurodivergent will advanced human society, but I'm saying that every person that has advanced it was or is
Yeah,
neurodivergent.
if you're watching or listening to this thinking I've got ADHD and I haven't done anything like progressive with my life,
Don't
don't
worry,
worry.
not all here to change the world. Some of us are here just to smile. That's good enough.
So valuable.
Yeah, but some of the comments were like, oh, you know, ADHD is on the rise because of what we're eating and because of this and because of that. But there is a valid point behind that, in the sense that we are a bit quick sometimes to say, oh, my kid's ADHD, but you're fueling them on fats and sugars that we didn't have in our diets before. It's like, it's that kind of look at other reasons before you just assume it's ADHD. And I think it's just about expressing that in a way that's productive, that doesn't.
No, definitely. And I feel like looking at more health rather than just mental health,
Yeah.
it gets people that across to people a lot better. Like we can judge, what's it called when you look at groups of people and you can predict etymology or something.
Okay.
But you can basically you can predict trends that are going to happen because you know certain things. You know that during Christmas a lot of people buy quality streets, so the shops get in a lot more of those
you're
sort
gonna
of things.
get.
Yeah, you know that more people will be taking money out of their bank account around this times, and they just equate, you know, during COVID, you know that everyone was going to take the toilet roll, like it's things like that. People do things, they're quite habitual. We think we're all individual, we're not. We're very similar to each other. And I was going somewhere with that.
Well,
But the advancement,
yeah.
that's what I was thinking of. Not right then, but before. I only learnt recently that dinosaurs were around for 170 million years.
Yeah.
And in the last 60 years, we've developed the world so much quicker. Like it's like
That's part of the problem with kids, though, that the screen time, what they've now been exposed to, our brains haven't caught up with. So our brains are quite primitive still in their evolving, and yet technological advances have leapt ahead. So anxiety levels are up because we're responding in old-fashioned ways to very new technology.
I feel like we're definitely going to get that, but there's something about younger generations that don't know anything but that.
Yeah.
That it won't be so much of a thing from. Like it'll be, you get certain sheepdogs, don't you? Or like dogs that were bred for utility. Again, I hate to compare humans to dogs, but these dogs, you could have one. You buy one of these puppies, I don't know, a sheepdog, bring it around a load of cattle, and it will naturally know how to herd them.
Yeah.
It's insane that the amount of like genetic memory that you get from ancestors and the stuff that they've done as well. And something like, I'm telling you now, the kids in our future will know what a scam is. They'll know how to not get mixed up with any of that. The idea of like being able to judge a person based on red flags, you know, all this stuff. The internet is a scary place sometimes, but it spreads a lot of information that we actually all do need.
That is definitely good. And that's the other thing as well. They keep saying on the radio about, we just need to teach teenagers literacy when it comes to using their phone in a safe way. But I'm like, at the end of the day, the teenage brain is going through the biggest rewiring since toddler years. So they are basically reverting to toddlers, hence why you see tantrums in teenagers, you know, and you do go, what's your age? Well, they don't know how to act their age because their brains are rewiring. They're going through a hell of a lot of transition. So to put that expectation that they can then manage something that's accessing the world and know that this, like the person that you're talking to that says there's a hot guy might actually be a 60-year-old pedo that's trying to like lure you. You know, it's like, it's unfair to expect them to be able to manage that. Their brains aren't adapted or equipped for it, you know. So it's all well and good going, but we'll just teach them it in education. Well, that's like, it's not going to help. You've got to like look at the fact that they're perhaps not ready for that kind of technology yet, you know. But I do get what you're saying, that they're going to be more literate than we are because they've been brought up around it. But then there's the thing that it's actually affecting their attention span. You know, TikTok, for example.
So
the scrolling nature of that.
I think TikTok's the USA is banning it.
They don't ban a lot of time. Community on TikTok.
Can I be honest? I know it's a little bit anti everything that we're doing, but I say nuke it all. Get rid of all social media. Just like not YouTube. This isn't a social media thing. This isn't this is a streaming platform. This has got nothing to do with social media, Twitter, or what formerly known as Twitter, the X, whatever it is just a pumping of misinformation, of right-wing conspiracies now. Every
Yeah.
time I look onto it, it's just extremist views.
Do you
And
know what
I
is
don't have one of them.
the massive shame about the social media issues is the fact that when they first brought about the like button and all of that, it was to help with mental health. They wanted a way to be able to spread a smile in a really quick way, and to like it gives you a little dopamine hit. And it started off on quite innocent grounds.
I don't think it was ever purposely put in like, oh, look, you get some joy from this. You get some
But there was obviously
dopamine.
a money making thing, but it was never
Always
meant,
a money thing.
but it was never meant to then cause an issue where if you don't get 100 likes, you feel like an idiot, so you take it back down. It was meant to make you feel good if you got 1 like. But it became a battleground quite quickly for, oh, I'm only getting 5 likes, I'm only getting 10 likes. But if 10 people came up to you in the street and was like, oh, I really like what you're wearing, you'd be quite overwhelmed that 10 people had come up and said that. So it's like, you know, yeah.
Thank you.
See what I mean? But it's like, it's gone from it being like, oh, 10 whole people like what I'm doing, to,
Yeah.
oh my God, why aren't 1,000 liking it? You know?
And that's the thing. And if they can make you feel like that, then they can make you buy something to make you feel better, or they
Yeah.
can make you hate a certain amount of people to make you feel better, or they can.
They can
It's
can
so
manipulate your,
controlling. Yeah.
your attention is up for sale. That's what they're doing. I mean, I've noticed the change in the classroom, obviously, over 10, 15 years, that the kids like used to like being occupied, but now trying to get them to look up from their screens, they are addicted. It's very, very tricky, and they get
Yeah.
such enjoyment from their screen. It's like watching like a crack addict almost, like being like, like, you know, like trying to get them to move away from it. But I
Yeah.
definitely think neurodivergent people are way more susceptible to, we're on social media more, you know, we're looking for those easy hits and those dopamine hits a little bit
Yeah.
more than the neurotypical brain. So we've got to kind of be aware of that.
Yeah, I feel like anything that's promoting short form content, I feel like we need to reassess it because it's not doing anyone.
It can't be monitored, can it? That's the trouble.
It's just so like, I don't know if you've got any other of the ones now. Reels, if you're a dude, I've seen men get the worst videos come up to
Yeah.
them, like beheadings, animal
Yeah.
cruelty, and like this algorithm's just not getting it quick enough.
Yeah, definitely. And the trouble is, with another thing with neurodivergency is those intrusive thoughts and intrusive voices. And I get them quite a bit. So if I accidentally see something that I didn't want to see, my brain will keep showing it me over
Yeah.
and over, especially if I'm trying to fall asleep. Like, oh, it's horrible. It's playing something now that I don't want it to do because it,
Yeah.
that's just the way my brain works. But
I've touched on some of that. I don't know if people quite understand the difference between. I've seen it often mixed up, impulsive thoughts and intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
So an impulsive thought, for anyone that's misunderstanding,
it's kind
is
of like where you interrupt, like I've just done.
it's where you've got that urge to
Yeah.
do the action, to do something, whether it's to say something ridiculous in a
Drink it, because it'd be fun.
Yeah, but it's generally like it's a quick, it happens then. Whereas an intrusive thought is repetitive, it's harmful. You almost question like, oh my God, why did I think that?
It's like if you
Like-
pick up scissors and your brain's like, go on, chop your finger off, and you have to be like, no, don't be ridiculous. And you're trying to cut the thing you should be cutting, and it's like, can you imagine if you slipped and cut your hand? Like, and it's like showing you what would happen if you'd
Yeah.
done that. And it, oh my
Your
God,
body
it's
will
horrible.
brace for that sensation of the
Yeah.
knife going through or
Yeah.
something like that. It's it can be very serious for people with ADHD. There's a few different disorders of people that experience it more chronically, but stress, not eating, poor
Yeah.
lifestyle.
And it's a
Or-
good one to raise, actually, because I have students come to me and they're like, I've got voices in my head. And one of the things that I do try and talk to them about is I'll say, how many voices have you got in your head? And to try and get them to be really open about whether they've got any at all, because some people don't have any kind of leading voice. Some people have got one very firm, strong voice that does all their thinking. And some, like me, have got loads that compete and, you know, shout out random things that make you laugh out loud. And you're like, oh God. Or that have got intrusive thoughts that are saying horrible things and that you wish they wouldn't. So I think it's really good to be open about it, because you
Yeah.
can. These youngsters, they hear stuff about schizophrenia and they worry that that's what they've got.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important with intrusive thoughts because a lot of the worry is like, will I actually ever do that? Will I actually? And it can make you very the understanding that these types of thoughts are for nothing, they're almost opposite of the ego. So you'll have these certain thoughts that subconsciously enter your day that make decisions for you, help make you make decisions. This is the opposite of that. It has nothing to do with like, ooh, I'd like to do that, and it's subconsciously coming out. It is the opposite.
It's almost brain.
Most definitely. You experience so much anxiety that it's like, that would be horrible. That would be horrible, because you experience what it's like when it has gone horribly.
But it's like my mum being up the ladder of the bus. My brain is like, click the buttons, go on, click the buttons. Because if you click the buttons, it'd start to collapse. And most of the time, it's not doing that. But if I'm hungry and I'm stressed, then those voices are so much more rife. And I know I'd never do that. I'd never endanger my mum. But the voices are like, haha, go on, do it, do it. And sometimes I can laugh at them, and sometimes they're not so nice.
So I would, yeah, it's if you do worry that you may be experiencing schizophrenia, though, please don't take this information as like, oh, it sounds like I just have this. Like, obviously, please look after yourself and get
Well, always
the support that you need.
And always talk to us. You know, the chat option's there. You can send us an email as well, which is adifferentpodcast@gmail.com. And Steph is psychotherapist trained. Been a teacher for 15 years in the specialist industry, so I've come across so much of it. And the reason I'm saying that is because you go to the doctors and sometimes they haven't got that level of experience.
More often than not.
Yeah, they don't actually know very much about ADHD or Tourette's or, you know, dyspraxia. So, you know, just ask us those questions. We'll do our absolute best to give you as much information as we can and try and point you in the right direction, which does bring me to Joy Social Prescribing Site. This is a website that you can go onto, and social prescribing, if you've not heard of it, is like alternative prescriptions. So instead of medicinal kind of traditional prescriptions, it's it looks, yeah, so the lady that told me about it, she's like, it doesn't look like as nice as what they want the site to look, but
It's cute.
yeah, I think if you like go into the search option, or I think view products or whatever it is, it's actually where it's at. But yeah, if you put in your postcode,
I won't put in mine, but if I put list,
and then it will bring up whether there's things in your area like wellness walks, groups that you can get involved in. I've actually listed the podcast as being on there, and yeah, they're mostly should be all free, but there might be some paid things on there. But I think that's a really good site to be aware of, because if you are feeling stuck, connecting is probably one of the most valuable things you can do, is realizing that you're not alone.
yeah, definitely. Whether it's to get with people to hang out or if it's to help other people.
Yeah,
Two
run
really good
together,
ways.
walk together, active mums club, sports, leisure
Wonderful.
centres. So much on there. So that's something that we would
Mental health cafes.
yeah, definitely recommend you to check it out.
If you've been to your local GP recently, then you'll probably see that there's a lot of signs like this umbrella, like what can we do and what certain services there are. And I've seen a lot of like mental health wellbeing cafes advertised. They're great. And if you you know, the best wellbeing cafe is this Friday, right?
Yes, indeed. So if you want to join in, if you're in the Leicester area and you want to join in with one of our community spaces, it's this Friday. So again, just get in touch. But there's also a workshop that we wanted to tell you about, which is part of Better Outdoors. So if you are in, I think it's at Saffron Acres, maybe. So Saffron Lane area. It's a free workshop, and it's for parents and guardians of kids with additional needs. And it's absolutely free, and it's helping you to manage yours and theirs stress. Scroll down quite a bit. It's before that. Keep going. There we go. There. Yeah. So it's self-care, self-esteem, loss, endings and changings, and managing stress. But it's totally free. And I just think that's such a good opportunity, because quite often we find ourselves not having places to actually signpost you guys to. And I think it starts on April the 11th.
They're all really good tools, and you know, things like this normally cost so much.
Yeah.
The fact that it's free is like you're almost losing money by not going.
Yeah, totally. It's It is such, and if it's not something that you think you can benefit from, then please do share this information, because I would hate for anybody to miss out on this that could
Look,
help so much.
so good, by the way. Create your nature activity
Well,
is my kind of thing.
Better Outdoors itself is a really lovely company that offers wellness walks, forest bathing,
I love that.
yeah, fires in the wood, and like whatchamacallit, whittling wood, and all
Oh
sorts of,
yeah,
yeah, that kind of thing.
bushcraft and
Bushcraft, yeah,
doing
that's the
different.
word I was looking
That's
for. Yeah.
awesome.
So they're a really nice company to check out anyway.
The name of the website is Better. Oh, you're on about the Joy one.
So we've got Joy.
Thejoyapp.com for social prescribing.
Yep.
And then if you go to Facebook, you'll find Better Outdoors. But also, I feel like there was a website as well.
Again, though, if you are watching this back and you want more information, just comment on the video below, and we'll make sure that we Is that their website?
That's
Their
nothing to do
address?
with it. I don't want to take anyone to there if it's
Yeah,
not.
no. It did have the same logo, didn't it?
Yep, that's
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, awesome. So they have got a website, which is great.
It's outdoors.org.uk. I'll put the links below in the description. Thanks, Kat, for. It's monitored in China, she says. I'm guessing that was about TikTok.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was,
exactly.
yeah.
And China has a completely different TikTok, by the way. The algorithm's completely different. All the content is different, the one in China. And they're the ones that made it, so.
So this week then, our Patreon, I am going to be able to pronounce that without having to think about it the more I say it. Shout out for one of our, so each week we are shouting out somebody that supports us using the Patreon website. So you can sponsor us for £1 a month, £5 a month, £10 a month, or £25 a month. But promise you, £1 a month, we are so happy with that. So if you can afford to sponsor us for £1 a month, get yourself on there. And this week we are shouting out Natasha Clayton. This one was for you, and thank you so much. She supported us right from the start. I'm sure she was number 3.
That's
So
really cool.
We
Shout
are going
out to
in
you.
order. Deck, and now Natasha. So we're going to keep shouting out different Patreon subscribers, and each month we're going to be doing a monthly draw from everybody that is on our Patreon.
The last week of every month.
Yeah, so that would be next week. March.
And Patreon is getting a
revamp.
We've got a load more stuff for you to that we can give back to you. Basically, we realize that we're really thankful for all your support, and we want to be able to show this support as much as we can. Our thanks, our gratitude.
So we're going to be adding some freebies on there so that it is a little bit more encouraging and you get something back from us.
It's fun. The thing that's being included, one of the things that's being included will be the prize for next week draw.
Oh, okay. So is that a canvas by you? Or is that the?
It is. It won't be a canvas. It will be a print. But
Very
I can
cool.
actually. Do you know what? I'm actually gonna.
That is very cool.
That's it.
So Steph is our in-house, very talented artist, and you'll be getting an exclusive print.
I don't know how well you can see it, but
that is wicked. I love that. And when I get back on my embroidery game, who knows? I might be embroidering you something. That could be the little handmade gift.
I love that. Yeah, we'll go through once it's all like definitive and what all the categories are going to be. Then we can let you know, and you can know which one you'd like to sign up to, and we can be forever thankful for.
Yes.
What are you thankful for this week? And then we'll let the people go.
I am. Gosh, I'm thankful for so many things, but that's
You're on the spot.
yeah. I'm thankful for the atmosphere that's been in my classroom this week, because there's been I've seen teamwork going on, and there's been problems, there always is, but I am very thankful for the opportunity that all of them get to connect, and the opportunity that I get to help them on their journey.
I wish my teachers said stuff like that about us when we were younger. Maybe they did and we just didn't have a podcast to ever say it, but I'm gonna almost certain think they didn't.
You
Shout
never
out,
know.
guys. You've made her week so far. Continue that energy for the rest of the week. Don't
Make
let
sure
us
you
down.
hit the like button as well on the on this episode, please.
Like,
Yes,
subscribe, share it.
like the episode right now, so that you don't have to remember to do it.
We'll wait.
And then Steph will tell you that she is thankful for the likes.
I am thankful and grateful that we are finally monetized. I'm joking. I'm just I'm manifesting in that. I am grateful and thankful for my mum's going to be back next week or very soon. And I've missed her. It's been 3 months that she's been away.
It's felt like forever, because usually I was like seeing her every week, turning up to do the podcast.
Yeah, we come here to do it and no one else is here. But starting next week, I believe, the Queen and King themselves will be back in the studio.
In the castle.
So we'll leave you to it, guys, to have an awesome week. Celebrate Neurodiversity Celebration Week however you wish.
Well, get in touch with us if you've got questions, if we've raised anything that's made you curious to know more.
Yeah, because we've definitely missed some stuff. So just be like, you know, when you went on that tangent and you never finished it, can you just clarify? Happy to do that.
Can you clarify where Kate Middleton is then?
Oh, I completely forgot this next week. I will tell you where Kate Middleton is.
Conspiracy continues, isn't it? The mystery continues, although she has been spotted at Windsor.
Was it her though?
I know. Was it any footage?
Ooh, I'll let you know next week. I'm telling you, I know for sure.
Really? Otherwise, I'm gonna feel dreadful.
I saw an article today that was like, "You're all gonna feel really bad when you," and I was like, "Hey, I've been telling people for ages, leave her alone."
Yeah.
I'm choosing it for clickbait. But shout out Kate Middleton. I hope you're feeling better. This is Lindsay.
And this is Steph.
We are A Different Human Design.
And this was a different podcast.
Happy Neurodiversity Celebration Week.
Good night.
Good night.
Why is it like this? Instead of hate, it should be love we invite in. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous. Why is it like this? Instead of hate, it should be love we invite in.